All right, well, happy Friday. Welcome, everyone. I'm joined with recent RCDC winner, Cory Black. Welcome to stream, Cory. I know that
Hello.
you and I have known each other for, I guess, it's actually been years now, which is kind of crazy to think about. But I know, like, you were always the guy on the, like, GG forums trying to build, like, crazy nonsense or whatever. And I guess it just kind of worked out this time, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say crazy nonsense in the sense of like, you know, I know this is bad. Sometimes, like Burn at the Stake was its own thing.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. But for the most part, it's like, it's fun to think outside the box, but it's
Hmm.
also like I'm not doing this to say like I won F&M with a
Hmm.
plain tribal or whatever. And this was certainly a case where this deck, when I stumbled upon it, the interaction between Cauldron and Tree, and just immediately was like, all right, this feels very good. Like, I don't know if
Hmm.
this is close to optimal yet, and it took some time to get there,
Hmm.
but it felt very clear that, like, oh, like, you can just put your opponent to 2 life on turn 3 pretty reliably. That's something worth pursuing further.
Hmm.
And over time, the deck really just developed into this sort of versatile, um, very flexible, you know, not necessarily toolbox, but all of the cards in it are incredibly versatile and play
Hmm.
well in most matchups.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about it because when I look at this deck, what I actually see is a low curve Rakdos deck that has the capability to like play a longer game if necessary, which is kind of appealing to me in a lot of ways. Like, I guess if you had shown me this before the RC compared to the other builds, I would have been a lot more happy about it, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, I was too. Just getting the Marvins in and getting the Duresses in. Um, I feel like the deck as constructed really just is it's exactly like on the wire between in terms of being mid-range,
Hmm.
but in terms of being mid-range flexibly, depending on the matchup, as opposed to just sort of being a pile of cards.
Hmm. And yeah, like it's just nice when you have a low curve. Like you can play a few less lands, but also like a lot of your lands do things. Like you have two Mutavaults, you have a Fountain
Mhm.
Port, you have a Eye of Tyrant. Um,
Yeah, there's Mutavaults, there's Gigantha,
yeah,
there's Takenuma, Sokenzan, even just sort of on-board stuff like Thrill Seeker,
yeah,
Reflection, which now has Marvin, to double up on it.
yeah.
You
It
have a lot
is.
of use for mana.
It's kind of funny. Before the RC, I did play against Aaron Barrich playing this deck, and she went off with Fable FOMO, which I hadn't seen before. I'm like, oh, that is kind of interesting. Um, if you have unimpeded attacks, then you can like basically pay mana to deal two damage,
Yeah,
which
you have
is
infinite shocks.
yeah.
But then
Um,
the map gets even more interesting when you factor in like Cauldron and Thrill Seeker.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
some
yeah,
really
yeah. That makes sense to me. I guess like yeah, it's kind of weird. If you had a vigilance creature, you could actually attack like a lot, but there's no vigilance creatures, of course. There's probably none good to play in these colors, to be quite fair.
yeah. I'm a Scryfall enthusiast. I think one of the best ways to like, think about deck building is like if you could design a card
Hmm.
within reason that your deck would want, what would it look like? And then figure like, all right, is there something that approximates that?
Hmm.
Um, and Marvin is one that sort of came to be that way because for months it was just like I would love something that like makes tree good to draw
Yep.
that isn't the soul cauldron,
Hmm.
and having it be a creature that can also double up as a thrill seeker or even just frankly as a chump blocker
Hmm.
or even just being able to get delirium with FOMO is very nice.
Hmm.
It's
That
not an explicit goal of the deck, but being able to do it reliably opens up the FOMO thrill seeker lines a lot more.
yeah, all of this tracks to me, and obviously like where Pioneer is right now, Soul Cauldron obviously decent versus Phoenix, fine or decent versus Greasefang, which was on the
Mhm.
uptick a little bit, and of course like in your deck, it is just a way to like you know deal 18 points of burn to your opponent or a reasonable amount of
Mhm.
time or something like that. Um, in the older versions of this deck, I actually did play a reasonable amount with it, and I was pretty impressed by the Soul
Sorry,
Cauldron.
cut out a little bit there.
Oh, sorry. Why? I wonder why it's doing that. I was pretty impressed by the Soul Cauldron Thrill Seeker stuff as well. You can just
Sorry.
is it me or is it
Either way.
oh maybe it's a Discord thing. But one sec. Let me see if I can fix it. Well, it looks like I'm fine. I'm not sure. I don't know why I'm cutting out. I haven't really changed anything, but
It was just that one sort of sentence. I can hear you now for the most part.
all right. But yeah, anyways, like the Soul Cauldron, like it can just rack up so much damage so quickly.
Hmm.
It's it's hard to explain until you've played with it. And basically, I guess you also played Yawgmoth, where it's probably even better in Yawgmoth than it is in this deck. But like it
It's
kind of
it's funny. I've been thinking about Yawgmoth a lot.
mhm.
Um, I do think what I will say in terms of like selling the deck is if you're a modern player and are looking to get into Pioneer and you're a Yawgmoth player in Modern, like play this deck. It is not just
I see.
Cauldron. It is the like non-linearity, diversity in lines and win conditions. If you really enjoy that, like oh, every game feels like pretty different. Um, this sort of captures that feel,
That
but it's
yes, sorry. That makes sense to me actually. Um, I guess like not to digress too much, it is interesting that the versions of Yawgmoth in Modern started playing Malevolent Rumble, which also
mm,
makes the Soul Cauldron better because obviously like incidentally mill your Grists or Yawgmoths or whatever nonsense.
yep. And you even get the spawn token to Cauldron onto. Um, that's
Mm, right.
quite likely it's possible that the like a tree-based Cauldron deck in Modern with Malevolent Rumble
Mm-hmm.
um, is a
Yep,
pretty good way to go.
that makes sense. How about the audio now?
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah,
I
I
can hear
think
it
I
quite well.
think maybe my gain was turned down by accident. So,
Mhm.
anyways, any non-intuitive interactions you want to point out that people wouldn't see right away?
Um, well, there are plenty that are not super useful. One that I have found is
Right.
let's say you got a Marvin in play,
Uh-huh.
an Ob Nixilis, and you need to gain life and you got a Mutavault. You can activate Mutavault plus Ob. If they kill Mutavault in response or try to, you can have Marvin use Mutavault to become all
Yep.
creature types.
Yep.
So it becomes a
Yeah.
devil.
That
Um,
I think I would have seen that, but obviously that is very counterintuitive if you don't play with a lot of like land-based shenanigans in
it's the
other
same
format.
with one that probably matters a bit more because it's just the two cards is Marvin can copy Hive of the Eye Tyrant's ability
Yep.
to become a 3/3 menace.
Hmm.
Um, didn't have that come up, but is relevant. Fountain Port sacking Ob Nixilis tokens
Yep.
for like be able to attack into attracts or something
Hmm.
has come up, but by and large, a lot of it isn't so much like interactions between specific cards, but in how each card um, handles different things more flexibly, like which cards are good where and how to sort of leverage like I've sort of come to like the name Rakdos Cauldron more than Rakdos Tree because you
Hmm.
win just as many games getting a Thrill Seeker under Cauldron as you do a tree.
Hmm. Well,
And
we can change that real quick. That's no
yeah,
problem. Yeah. Also, coverage did that too, which is kind of interesting. And I guess if your viewpoint is that it should be Rakdos Cauldron, then it should be called Rakdos Cauldron. I think.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, I think Tree it's just the most fun because
yeah.
for one, Tree is like Tree gives the deck the floor it needs.
Hmm.
Like if Tree didn't exist, I think there's probably a deck like this that would still be quite good, but it would be very difficult to play in the
Hmm.
sense that a lot of the like what's the risk reward in playing a deck like this
Hmm.
as opposed to a very similar deck. Um, Whereas Tree, you can just have the games where you go, all right, turn two FOMO, toss a tree, turn
Hmm.
three. You cannot attack into my creature, and end of your turn, you're at 4 life type of thing.
Yeah, that's a lot of. Uh, I don't know. The tree grafting onto creatures via Soul Cauldron thing is pretty nonsensical and is probably like close to modern power level. Um,
I think it is. The
yeah.
question is basically like, are the enablers for it modern power level? But
Mm,
modern, you have Walking Ballista, which isn't as good to Cauldron onto, but if you have a Ballista in play,
yeah.
that's an instant kill.
Yep. I guess question for you. I had messaged you. The sideboard removal spells, how do you feel about them? Is there anything that should be changed? I know you're relatively happy with the main deck. I guess just in the sideboard in general, like, how do you feel about it post mortem?
I think the sideboard was good. I liked my overarching sideboard philosophy. So
Mm,
going into the event, me and some of the other people, who are playing the deck, we sort of figured that the three biggest decks were going to be Phoenix, Blue, White, and Rakdos aggro. And I had a sense that Rakdos aggro would be number one.
mm-hmm.
It was number two, but it was pretty close.
Yep.
And my thought process in building the sideboard was that I wanted to over sideboard for Rakdos aggro because
Mm-hmm.
I felt my experience with this deck could help me cover matchups like Blue White, Enigmatic, Transmog, etc. Ones
Yep.
where there's a bit more time to maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not want to, have a tournament where I got paired against Rakdos aggro the first three rounds, lost the die roll, and got just sort of bowled over because I, didn't play enough removal on the sideboard.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
in that sense, I liked the amount of removal a lot. I liked having the 7 sideboard removal spells.
Yep.
Um, I would probably change the configuration a little bit, like the extra torch, not super necessary.
Mm-hmm.
The go for the throat was fine. I'd probably just have another bitter triumph, because you want that against blue white to an extent.
Got it.
And the withering torment was like pretty useless. Um, it,
I'm not.
it's
Yeah. I'm not surprised to hear you say that because I basically banned, or I made a case that Withering Torment's rate is so bad that you should just not play that card. Like,
there's a big argument, you know, I not big in the sense that we were at each other's throats, but
yeah.
Feed the Swarm versus Withering Torment. And
Yeah.
one of the reasons I liked Feed the Swarm is not only does it kill Leyline of Sanctity, which is by far the best card against this deck. Little
Mm-hmm.
pro tip for anyone who's expecting it. Not only turns off Tree, it turns off your discard. You can't Blink Thrill Seeker at them.
Yep.
Card is actually like a bit of a problem. But what I also liked about Feed the Swarm is that in some creature matchups, like against mono green, you could bring it in and you didn't feel as bad killing an elf if you were on the play, in
Right.
addition to hitting Leyline.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Mono white humans, just having like an extra removal spell wasn't the worst over discard, but going up
Mm-hmm.
to 3 mana on Withering Torment really takes that away.
I agree with you. I think just the like people act like mana costs are linear. It's actually not the case. I think like adding a mana to it is more than linear for its cost. Actually.
Mhm.
Uh.
Especially in a deck like this where
Yeah.
it's every mana, like just having the flexibility to leave up Thrill Seeker as opposed to not is it matters every single game. Like
Mm-hmm.
every piece of your mana is like very precious, and being able to maximize how much you spend on each
Mm-hmm.
turn. It's true of just Magic in general right
Yep.
now,
I,
but
yeah. Totally agree. I did change the Go for Throw to a Bitter Triumph, and I cut Torch for a feed or Torment for a feed, and it sounded like you kind of wanted to cut Torch. Is there anything
mhm.
else you would recommend at the moment? Like, is there like some like weirdo card that you wanted to try but never pulled the trigger? I guess is the question.
I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that was sort of considered for the main deck
Uh
in
huh.
terms of like just weirdo activated abilities. As a sideboard juke, not really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will say I would probably go up to 3 Hazaret. Every
Interesting.
time
Yeah.
I brought that card in, it was like the best card in the deck. Um, the
Mm-hmm.
clock it provides is absurd. Like you get a Thrill Seeker called Thrill Seeker on that thing. It just kills them in like one hit.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of funny that we don't see too many Hazarets, but it is when it's like uncontested, which most of these Is It Phoenix, I think, cannot remove this very well.
mhm.
Uh,
Most
In
Rakdos lists have trouble with it.
I
There's like
see.
there's like Extinction Event and Sheoldred's Edict, but those have been kind of on the downswing since Vein Ripper, got
Yep.
effectively banned. Soren's the one that got banned. But with this deck also, you want to sort of aggressively play out your hand anyway.
Yep.
Like again, you have all this use for your mana.
Hmm.
You have fear of missing out, so you want to just turn that into, 2-3 draw a card.
Hmm.
And in that context, Hazoret just becomes great. And Cauldron just kicks it up to an absurd degree.
Okay. Well, that all makes sense to me. I mean, obviously, Hazoret dominated standard for basically the whole time it was there. So,
Mhm.
like, it's not surprising. I mean, this is obviously a very different deck than the standard mono red decks that played for Hazorets, but I am not surprised that Hazoret has been seeing a resurgence. Like, some of the Rakdos aggro decks also play that card in the RCA as well. So, really not surprising to see it come up here where your curve is low. You can like just tap your lands, cast your things, and then probably works out most of the time.
And it does have a relevant activated ability. It's not one that you play it for, but
Yeah,
if they,
like every damage counts in this deck, right?
yeah,
Right. Um. Well, I think that's like probably enough discussing of the deck for now. Like, obviously, just seeing the situations, I think, matters more. So we'll just head into that and see what happens.
yeah. One of the things I also want to do is, I'll doing this stream, I'm hoping to do is sort of an updated guide on the deck
Yep.
and maybe some others. I think a lot of people, from what I can gather, sort of play it with too much of a focus on the combo.
Yep.
Um,
It to me, it's just like sort of a beat downy deck that you can like force people into like a bad spot, then like maybe like get an activation off of Thrill Seeker or Tree when it's inconvenient for your opponent or whatever.
Mhm. It's sort of I like using chess as an example for play patterns. I'm not
Yeah.
very good at chess, but I've learned enough to know sort of
Yeah.
how it works. And it's sort of a deck where you just put yourself and your opponent in this very clunky middle game. And then
Hmm.
as soon as they blunder, you kill them instantly. Like this deck can pounce at a moment's notice. Um, and if they play well and, it just comes down to like, you can still win those games too. Like having just
Hmm.
cards like Fable and FOMO and Bloodtithe and all those work just as well.
Oh, playing against another creator account. We'll see if it's a tree mirror. No, they have no Gigantha. We do.
Mhm.
This hand looks pretty good to me. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it's about as easy as a keep.
Yeah.
I was sort of preparing examples in my head of like, oh, well, this hand looks bad, but you can keep it. The deck draws well. It's like, no, this is exactly why you play this deck. They go turn one Thoughtseize or Cauldron. Okay, well, we play a FOMO, discard our tree, and then probably hit a Fable. So it's
So
kind of
interesting to note is Rakdos with no Gigantha.
yeah, I saw that,
So
and no turn one play, so they're not like any sort of like Leyline of Resonance brew either. I wonder,
I mean,
maybe they're
what
I would
were you thinking about playing Cauldron instead?
well, they gave us that one, which is kind. This is another advantage of FOMO.
Why did
Um,
why did why?
I don't know. But another advantage of FOMO is that if people are main decking Torch the Towers more often, it can survive.
Yeah. All right. So okay,
All right,
well,
well,
they
not
just left our match. They're just like,
not the most instructive game,
no,
but
not the most instructive match either.
well, let's go back to the game because I do want to talk about. You asked like, oh, is it worth um,
Sure.
like playing the Cauldron there instead? And turn one, Blackcleave Cliffs go no Gigantha. I do think there's a good chance it's correct
Got it.
in
All
that
right.
I don't know what their hand would be. That like if they had a discard spell, they'd play it, right? But there's very few things in the format that are going to be main decking something super relevant to get rid of Cauldron. Like maybe one K command,
Yeah, that makes sense. One thought I had was they might have just been leaving up removal, assuming we were Rakdos aggro because we revealed Gigantha.
Mhm.
But then we played nothing on our turn one. Like, what kind of Rakdos aggro hand would be like that? Instead, you should probably assume that we're tree or sacrifice. In which
Mhm.
case, I would probably just play the discard spell there if I were them. But
Yeah, as opposed to holding up Fatal Push.
yeah, it's
Instead of the aggregate, if my opponent plays Black Clay Let's Go, I assume there's a Fatal Push. The
yeah,
difference is if we had, so we drew Bloodtithe, correct?
yeah, yeah.
So I think a reason it's probably still good to play FOMO is
Mhm.
because we have this Fable in hand. If they draw a discard spell next turn, it means they're not really doing anything else turn two either, and just getting a Fable down is going to put us really far ahead.
Yeah, so
Um,
my intuition, and obviously it might not be right, was I want to play this FOMO because if I hit land three, that's probably
mhm,
the best possible for me, if that makes sense.
I would agree. Even if they had push instead of, discard their own Torch the Tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things again. It's like, well, we have three more Cauldrons in deck. We have a Fable. We have a FOMO. It's
Hmm.
it's like Thoughtseize as well. If they duress it, okay, but if they Thoughtseize, they're taking two. We now
Hmm.
have Artifact and Creature and Graveyard.
Hmm.
We're
Okay.
presumably gonna hit a land, and then Fable can turn on Delirium pretty quickly.
Yep.
It's just sort of a spot where you thread the needle with the deck. If it was like open deck list and I knew exactly what they were playing,
Yeah. Of course.
then
Yeah.
then it's like maybe play Cauldron. Um, like, oh, they cannot get rid of this if it's in play.
A bunch of people actually did register Mardu Reanimator, so if it was that deck, I would 100% play Cauldron.
Yeah,
Obviously.
any
Yeah.
that's another thing too. It's not common with Cliffs, but any deck where Cauldron actively impedes them, just get it down.
Yep. That makes
Like,
sense. I mean, it. This is the old Yawgmoth lesson where you just play the Cauldron if your opponent can't beat it. You know.
mhm.
Um. Well, not the most instructive match, but question from the chat. I just joined. What is feed this form against? Only enigmatic. Probably any deck where you want to kill um creatures from them as well. Like I guess like maybe it's a hard sell versus Rakdos aggro to side that card in, but
Yeah, not really against Rakdos aggro. Maybe on the play, depending
yeah,
what your configuration is like. I still
yeah,
wouldn't really be that enamored with it.
right.
But the way I sort of joke is that Feed the Swarm is your best sideboard card against the field,
Hmm.
in that it's the most versatile answer you can have in Rakdos
Yep.
to a lot of things people want to do to stop you. Like blue white, you can play around temporary lockdown, but rest in peace is a bit annoying.
Hmm.
Um, Lotus Field is the big one. Is that Lotus Field with Leyline of Sanctity, which they stopped boarding but shouldn't have. Um, that really like swings the matchup pretty
Hmm.
significantly. And even it's just one of those two where it's like if your discard spells in main deck are bad, Feed the Swarm's probably going to be okay because those tend to be sort of tap out creature based. Yeah, can't keep this.
Right. Also, this person is apparently Azorius one trick, so I'm gonna bottom the second tree. I think like pretty
Yep,
clear that that's my worst card, not
yep.
particularly close.
And if they are in fact blue white, this seems like a very good hold Thoughtseize turn one plan.
Oh, you don't want to cast Thoughtseize on one? I guess
I
this.
think against blue white, one of the things you get the most equity with is that you know their counter spells. Um, they're No More Lies and Dovin's Veto, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing in this hand currently that we drew the Cauldron, which is good, but we also have Marvin. So if we just go like Swamp Pass and play Marvin turn two, that probably eats a No More Lies. They do nothing turn three. And then we can Thoughtseize plus Cauldron or just play Thrill Seeker. Like there's nothing really that we would take that is going to alter how the game plays out the next couple turns.
Hmm. The
And I think just forcing them, like we can spend the one mana on turn three or four.
hmm. That's very counterintuitive to me here because I guess the counterpoint is what if we draw another one mana rules or like another one mana discard spell? Then we're kind of punished for not casting that one. But
A bit. but we're also not under any.
Oh!
Um,
Oh, shoot. I don't know how I tapped that during my... That's really bad. That's, like, really bad.
yeah, you know what? We give and we take.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I really
I
don't
am
know how I managed that. That's really very baffling. Okay, well, if we draw an untapped land, it's mostly fine. Okay, so now obviously we cast the Thoughtseize first and see what's up, right?
yeah.
If they normalize it, great. That's fine. Like we probably
Mm.
would take normalize a large portion of the time here, and then cast something. It would be a lot better to have a 2/2 in play if they didn't want to counterspell it, just to like hit them for 2, obviously. But
Yeah, exactly. We would
uh,
probably play Bloodtithe over Marvin for.
right.
Well, it depends. I think Marvin probably better to play on turn 2 still because hitting the land opens up tree, and they can have Wandering Emperor, but if they, having that in play, it's just like having 4 Sphere of Resistances.
Yep. Right. Okay, that's fine. Do you want to play Bloodtithe now, or
I would get Bloodtithe, yeah.
yeah? It's kind of funny. I feel like all of the Rakdos like Thoughtseize side of decks are actually good versus Azorius.
Mm-hmm.
Like generally speaking, they can field that. We do have a mountain.
So land makes it a little interesting. I think one of the best things to do is if they have a normalize whatever, I would probably just go land and jam the Cauldron.
Yeah, I'm not activating mutable at this
Turn 4
notes.
is key. We need to if we just let them if we do
Yep.
nothing and
Yep.
we just deluge, that's like all right. And now I would just pass.
Oh, you don't even. Oh, I guess if we cast anything and get Vericted is not great.
We wanna just have discard tree
I see.
Cauldron them.
No. Yep. I see. Sorry. I'm not. I don't. Obviously, like you point that out, and it's obviously correct. But my I don't have the muscle memory for it. Is probably the best way of putting it.
Mm.
That's fine. And the deluge lesson, it basically all of the people in our Discord were like, yeah, we're trying to like make their deluges as awkward as possible on that key turn. It's just pretty classic. So do you go for it now?
We definitely discard the tree to the
Yeah.
blood token. It would be nice if we found an extra discard spell.
Yep.
So that is also interesting. Because the thing is, we exile tree, and they can march the Cauldron in response.
Yep. It's kind of a tricky spot, honestly. Like,
You could exile their change the equation or deduce and see if it baits them into hitting the Cauldron now, because we drew the second one.
okay, I mean, I guess I'll do that, but they're not going to do that because most Azorius decks don't even play Dig Through Time or whatever.
Probably not.
The one person who played Dig Through Time, okay, nice, was Reed. Reed played Dig Through Time in the Dimir control deck.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there was a lot of Dig Through Times. Alright, I guess I'll just shock and play Soul Cauldron.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward play. And now
Also...
I think I should just do it because if they want to march either of these, they have to give up a card now.
I agree. If they get Luster Bloodtithe, that's actually like perfectly fine.
Yeah. So despite that one turn where I tapped my Swamp during my upkeep for no particular reason, this game seems fine.
Yeah. The biggest thing is that a lot of these, Teferi Hero of Dominaria is a problem. Like that deck is good. Oh, they hit the Bloodtithe.
Okay, but right now
Hold
I can
on.
just
Yeah, that's a big punt on their part. Yeah,
no.
you can just do
So
that.
what you should do here, you should do one of two things. Either let me target the Bloodtithe, then march in response, or more likely,
Mhm.
what I would do is just march the Soul Cauldron.
March in the Cauldron for sure.
Yeah. All right. So we can just do this now.
Hmm.
If they have another march for the Mutavault, all right, good beats.
All right. Well, we can float and play Marvin.
Yeah, we can't get the counter onto it, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it costs them 3 cards to exchange with 2 of our cards. That's at least good. We don't have any creatures in the yard, but next turn we could Thrill Seeker to get a creature in the yard.
We don't even need to get a creature because we just Thrill Seeker, put the counters on it. Marvin has Tree's ability because it has counters on it,
Ah,
and
I
then
see.
we
Got it, yeah.
then we can put them to 4 and then use Marvin to fling at them.
Yep. It's too bad that we Mind Twisted them. Alright. Main phase Deduce. It kind of feels like they're soft now, but... Um... So just play Thrill Seeker, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Onto itself?
No, onto Marvin.
Okay, on the Merc. Right, oh, I see.
And then what we can do is we can just pass.
Yep,
The backup doesn't matter because Marvin will still have it.
yep.
And what we want to do, I think, is do it in their upkeep. Because if we do it now, they could have Wandering Emperor, and we would rather tax that mana on their turn.
Yep.
If they tap the clue or if they crack the clue token, then we can just do it. Yeah, they go to 4, and then we just throw it at their face.
It's very funny that Marvin plus Thrill Seeker is just lethal, like guaranteed, because it's going to have enough power. Like it lines up perfectly, right? It's always 20.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyways,
Marvin just it just shaved a turn off the clock there.
that was an impressive game from Marvin for sure. All right.
Yeah.
These all seem bad to me, quite obviously.
Yep.
These are fine because Teferi is a way you can lose, and I assume
You
Obnix was.
also you bring in the 3 obs, and part of Bitter Triumph too is that most blue white decks play restless anchorages, and when you play ob, a lot of the time that's their plan to knock it down. And just playing casualty and ob, they have to spend a turn animating anchorage, and you Bitter Triumph it is just basically ends the game.
So what am I shaving here? Like this is 62 at the moment.
Um,
Is it like one Thrill Seeker, one tree, or do you have a different plan?
yeah, you can cut one tree,
Mm-hmm.
like one tree and one Marvin. Marvin I
Right.
find good against blue white, but it's not as good as having like the discard spells.
Yep. Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
if you're cutting a tree, Marvin gets worse. You want to keep at least one Marvin in too, because you do need enough to casualty
Yeah.
ob. One thing you asked that question earlier about like, oh, is there something in the sideboard that sounds crazy but you want to try? Um, I couldn't figure one out in time, but some sort of like 1 mana creature that is
I
good to
see.
casualty to Ob Nixilis in matches where you want Ob. But I don't know what it would be necessarily.
Yeah, the options aren't great. Probably it's like Unlucky Witness, which is not particularly
Yeah,
powerful or good. But
that's
that
like yeah.
it's funny because the sacrifice decks all cut that card too because their deck is just so good now. Like they don't have to play shit like that.
It's part of the reason I didn't love Inti in here as
Yeah,
much too,
makes
is
sense.
that yeah, you get the raw cards from discarding, but a lot of your cards are contextually relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hit like a tree into Fatal Push against blue white, it's like, well, now I feel stupid.
Yeah, it turns out like inting into those cards is worse than just like rummaging cards away, like actual rummage instead of not like pseudo impulse rummage, right?
Yeah, you hit a tree, and not only is it not in the yeah, this is an easy keep.
Yeah, I mean no red, but I assume it's just gonna work itself out by like turn 3,
Yeah,
and I think just like any hand that has 2 lands discard 2-drop is like above average versus Azorius.
yeah. Here I probably would Thoughtseize them just because Rest in Peace is annoying.
I guess I'll play my swamp just in case if I do end up like drawing 3 lands in a row and want to channel talk Nemo later. Okay, well, let's think
Probably
about.
just that hand does nothing. It's probably
Well,
just Siege Shark.
well, they're gonna use Field to fix their mana, but obviously I think Sea Shark is a way we could very easily lose this game, whereas the other cards just all 1 for 1 us and we don't care.
I mean, not only are they one knockout blow, we don't need to attack,
Yep.
and Get Lost is delightful. I love getting Get Losted.
Yeah,
Like,
it's funny because the person who won the RC before you, Dan Weiser, was in our Discord. He was planning on playing Azorius, and he's like, "Yeah, I kind of hate Guess Loss. It's like kind of atrocious, but you have to place a number." And I feel like most people feel that way about the card. Um, I assume we just start casting our things because, like, why
yeah, you
not?
just jam Marvin.
Yeah. Damn. I guess I've never asked you this before, but how does it feel to be like going from Call Fight for nothing to basically everything for a while? It seems pretty fucking nice, right?
It feels weird.
Yeah.
It sort of in a way still hasn't hit. Like I
Yeah.
went in a sense because I was like, I want to tree some people. I'll
Well,
show all you fools who doubted it.
you certainly did show everyone. Like no one can really say that you didn't show them.
It's like there's a Far Side comic where there's a clown at a gun shop and he's
Mm-hmm.
thinking, laugh at me, will they? And that's kind of what I felt like the whole event. Just playing
Um.
my stupid
Yeah.
Shadows Mythic.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I didn't ask you, but obviously I feel like you should just play Fable there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Fable's just so broken. I'm
All
gonna
right. Well,
discard Blood Crypt and Tree probably.
yep, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, we drew Thrill Seeker. This is probably just swamp duress and figure out what to do after that, right?
Yep. I'm a big fan of people will ask me about like, oh, what's your play here? What's your play here?
Yeah.
And I always just emphasize like step one of any play we make is cast Caress. So let's just do
Yeah.
that and then think about the rest of it.
I mean, that's an old habit for me from playing like these types of decks. Well, just Rakdos decks in general. Like before, I played a lot of Rakdos Midrange, of course. Well, I feel like they're. I don't give a shit about these Supreme Verdicts, frankly, but maybe
I don't
that's.
really either. The question is if we draw, like, do we Thrill Seeker here and hit for 4?
Yeah, and then we'll have the treasure up to sack.
What does
Well,
knockout blow do again?
it's
It's
target attacking or blocking creature, but my issue with taking a verdict is I don't think that really does anything because like
It really doesn't. For it to even be castable, they need to draw another white source. We also have Gigantha we can just put in hand if we want.
okay, I think I'm going to just attack and put Gigantha in my hand and see what they do, but I don't know
I
if
think
it's
that's reasonable.
yeah.
The other thing too is that Gigantha with Thrill Seeker and Map Token is that can basically one-shot them.
Right.
This is why I'm never giving up Gigantha.
I think this
It
is a
is
good Gigantha deck. All right, so they're probably verdicting me. That's fine. They have 1 verdict left. I guess I'll just cast Gigantha now.
yeah,
Maybe
that
have
seems
um. I guess it's like more debatable if I should play Takenuma or not. I feel like I should though.
I usually just play it out
Yeah.
like we have fear of missing out in our deck. We have, you know, we have these map tokens, which should probably get us an additional land,
Mm-hmm.
and we're at a point in the game where we're ahead. Like we're up
Yep.
on cards, we're up on pressure.
So they're gonna verdict me, and now I can just like probably spam my stuff and see if they're dead in like 2 turns.
Exactly.
Interesting.
I would play that first.
Yeah.
If we see like a cauldron on top, oh, that's free.
Yeah. There's no way we want to draw that, obviously.
No, we don't know.
So where do I want to put the tokens? I guess is the question. I guess just
I usually just prefer putting on Thrill Seeker.
yeah, on itself makes sense. Okay, so
Like,
someone has asked, what card do you miss playing the most because you're playing Gigantha?
Honestly, nothing really comes to mind. Like there are cards that would be
Yeah.
useful and nice,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of like, oh, this is a big loss, it's a real sacrifice. uh,
Okay, so they actually have enough to activate this Hall of Storm Giants, which I think is probably their plan to block. So what do we want to do now?
We can map
Map?
onto Thrillseeker. We
Yeah.
can make this Thrillseeker a 7/7 and just force him to trade with the Hive if we have a spell on top.
Okay. Didn't. I guess I can just. Am I supposed to
We
map
just play it.
first?
Well, if we find a Cauldron, we win the game instantly.
Okay, sure. Oh, so I. Wait. So I should.
We have the blood. We should play Theater first
Yeah.
because let's say
Yeah.
we hit something we don't want and then we map and see Cauldron, we can still just blood into it. That's pretty good.
Is that good enough? We have Delirium, obviously.
I think it gets us just a free card essentially.
Sure.
We can top it, then we can blood token to draw it.
And then play Thrillseeker, play FOMO, say go.
Yeah, make them top another.
Yeah. I mean, they're down
Green.
2 verdicts. I feel like these decks don't play that many.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, blood, discard, Mutavault, I guess.
Mm-hmm. We could toss the Thrillseeker in the sense that having a land as a creature for when we do draw Cauldron is like pretty
Well,
good.
no, but if I play the
You have to
FOMO
toss
this,
it somewhere, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I think I should just discard this, play both of these in the correct order, and just say go. You could like theoretically wait a turn, I guess, is the actual assertion, but
Yeah,
I think I'm just gonna spread the damage out now instead. If
I
that
think
makes
that's yeah.
FOMO's like Seasoned Pyromancer on crack. Well, I guess it's like a 2-mana Seasoned Pyromancer, which is like a pretty. Oh, I see. Okay.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
They get to make a fish or a treasure, probably.
I would make treasure because the life total obviously matters for them. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you don't draw anything good, you just have to sack the treasure in main phase to Fountain Port.
Yeah.
Which they drew a land, so I guess their thought process is I have to leave up blockers, but now we just like cast our thing and see if they're dead.
Yeah. We can play better. We can cast the Cauldron.
Yeah.
Better Triumph also like invalidates the Hall.
Well, I would have to have 4 lands up besides that, right?
It's Ward 3, I think.
Oh, why did I think it was Ward 4? Whatever. I'm sure I knew that at one point, but I forgot. So now they have to crack their. Well, they have to crack Fountain Port and draw a counterspell.
And if they draw a counterspell, they're dead. We attack them for 3, 3, 3, 11, 14, and then shoot them for 20. Like rock in a hard place.
Yo, why didn't you tell me to play this deck? Why didn't you tell all of Twitter to play this deck?
I feel like I've been telling people to play this deck for like 4 months.
I'm being sarcastic. I do think Duskmourn made it significantly better, though, which is, a good thing.
I agree. I think it was tier like 1.5, maybe tier 1, depending on the meta before. Like you have to sacrifice some card quality for Epicures and Inties and all that, but this just feels like every opening 7 you draw, if it has between 2 and 5 lands, it's like, oh, sure.
Yeah, I think I underestimated how good the deck was at just like. Well, Tommy Ashton also played this deck, which is kind of interesting. He did not have as good of a time as you did, but
yeah.
Friend of the stream, a winner is you, also from the Good Game Reforms, says in chat, I told you to play mountains, the rest you had to do yourself. There are technically a bunch of mountains in this deck. I guess 5. Then there's the fake mountain Sokenzen, which is not a mountain, but is a mountain.
Raucous Theater's a mountain.
I see, yeah. The survival lands are just crazy powerful in so many decks. It's just...
That that match was a good example of why Raucous Theater is
Yeah.
so good. It essentially drew us 2 cards as our land drop there. We binned the tree
Yeah.
and got us 1 card closer to the cauldron, which just locked it completely. I would keep.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a hard sell not to keep a hand that has a 1 mana interactive spell and a Fable and enough lands to cast it, right?
Also a common Raucous Theater W. We're essentially just getting to
Cast Consider on
keep,
turn 1. We're casting
yeah,
Consider
keep,
off of our. Well,
yeah.
no thanks.
Nope. But that's free now. We get our Fable Thoughtseize, then we already have a tree in the yard.
I wonder if I'm going to regret selling my trees. I did sell them when they were super high, though. So maybe not.
As a, I do think that they are, if they weren't before, they are certainly a candidate to get a last minute inclusion in the Innistrad Remastered coming out.
Makes sense. What is... Okay. So, given no companion, I'm guessing, like, classic Rakdos Midrange with Archfiend of the Dross. I assume I should push here.
It's generally safer to push.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, like, the Goblin token's worth non-zero as well, so...
We're going to have an entirely new hand by the time they cast Archfiend of the Dross, I think. Just using the mana there, making sure... Because if they go, like, push our thing, play a second Bloodtithe, suddenly we're like, all right, we're further behind than we had a need to be.
Also, funny story is Dan Weiser, the Azorius person in our Discord, he said in the Discord, he said bad players basically don't cast their spells often enough, which I thought was kind of a funny statement to make, but it does make some amount of sense.
Yeah.
Just gonna discard tree and pathway, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I have a lot of options. I have a total of 5 mana. I could play Soul Cauldron, Fable.
I mean, I think it's just Thoughtseize them, Soul Cauldron, put them to 3 and pass, and then Thrillseeker can just kill them.
Yeah. Historically, Blue-White does not have a good matchup against anything but bad players. I think that's like exaggerating a little bit, but it is. There is some amount of truth. Wait. Okay, so this is like a riff on the Demons deck, I guess.
I like it. I've seen a list like that. Yeah.
Do any of their cards do anything?
I mean, Go for the Throat can kill the Thrillseeker when it targets itself, but then we just have Cauldron still. Fear of missing... They're going to get to discard and draw.
They're also going to have a brand new hand is the issue, so I don't know.
I think it's just Go for the Throat.
Okay,
like,
sure.
What could get us is if they toss, 2 cards and then they have 2 removal spells.
Sure.
The other cards don't do anything. Like, it is our way of saying, we're just saying, like, all right, you're dead next turn. Like, go ahead.
Oh, but now I can pass, right? Is there anything that
punishes me? I would just do it. I would just do it now. Like, we're either doing it now or upkeep. It's, if anything, if we do it, then they can crack Blood Token and hit push. We don't gain any equity not doing it now, essentially.
Does push do anything?
It fizzles, yeah. You need the creature in play.
Oh, never mind. It's exchange. Never mind. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish.
It's funny because my brain obviously got confused because but I do know this because Gilded Drake, you have to have the creature in play, obviously, All right, we take that. Yo, Make It Cat, thank you for the gift sub. I hope you're doing well, Tiffany. If you're all not following but Make It Cat on Twitter, she posts very funny TikToks, usually involving cats and magic cards, which is a good combination, in my opinion.
Oh, they too scared to Thoughtseize, huh?
We don't know that they have a Thoughtseize, right?
We don't, but they looked like they were going to cast something, and I think the only hesitation would be as if they had Thoughtseize. So we can just attack first.
With my 321?
Yeah. Would you like to block?
This shit makes me laugh so much. Like 321 is so big. All right, they have push.
They have push. Then now what? That's fine.
So they have slasher
We
unknown, but I'm just gonna see if they're dead.
we're 100%. So we play Thrill Seeker and put the counters on itself.
Yep, and if they kill it, then
Then we
I
can just
cauldron
yeah. We
onto
want to
that.
play. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The land helps because if they have exactly torch the tower,
Yep.
we can make sure we sack the Thrill Seeker and then do it.
Yep. That's why I played the land first. All right. Well, shoot you in the face. Damn, I really should have played this deck. I should have listened to. So the other deck that Tommy considered was actually Sacrifice, and he said Sacrifice is good, but he didn't like the fact that it had like a huge issue of having to draw its cards in the right order. Like where this deck it has like a similar power spike, but you play with four FOMOs, so you just see your cards more often. I think.
Thrill Seeker also low key, just an exceedingly powerful card, even
Yeah.
out of like text.
Well, I kind of had remembered that because I died to it a lot in draft because it just deals so much fucking damage. Like it's
Yeah,
insane.
it does an extra like 200% damage.
Yeah.
Like if you have a 3/2, a Bloodtithe can do 10 damage instead of 3.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, assuming it's like Rakdos demons in that area, how would you sideboard?
Get the Hazarets in there.
All right. And what do you want to cut is the real question, I guess.
I think we can cut the Marvins. As much as I love Marvin, any deck that's playing a bunch of like cheap early interaction, he doesn't really thrive against.
Makes sense to me.
The red black demon deck is hard because against the mono black deck, like obviously you trim down on pushes, which against the against like Rakdos Midrange decks, I actually like to trim pushes because it generally just doesn't feel like worth it to be fighting over the shaman tokens and Bloodtides. But here with Slasher, you kind of need to answer it. It's still possible we just want to cut like Duresses, Torch, and a couple push and bring in the Bitter Triumphs.
Okay. So if I do this, this is at 60 now. So do I need any of these other cards? Or not really?
Probably not really. Yeah. I like Ob against the regular demon deck, but I think the red one makes it harder.
Hello, K2. K2 LCQ'd into the RC last weekend with Mardu Greasefang, and she also played it in the event, so a lot of FOMO Fable enjoyers in the chat right now.
I like the Mardu Greasefang list. Yeah. I would still just keep.
Yeah. It's all good.
I kept a lot of hands last weekend. Part of it is just like, you don't win an 1,800 person tournament without running well.
That's part of it, but also I think the way you constructed your mana curve, it's like easier to keep hands that look like this.
Yeah. Even if we don't draw land, we can draw Bloodtithe, we can draw FOMO,
yep.
We can draw Cauldron, which then does that. Is just there are a lot of hands you keep on spec in any given deck because it's like, well, if we draw this, it's good. But this is a hand where it's like, well, 75% of our draws are good. 75%. Maybe a little less than that. But... Yeah, I think we just got to triumph that.
Yeah, I'm going to discard Tree, obviously.
I would just pay the life.
Oh,
we have two tables.
Oh, so actual rectangles matter to us, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Should I just play this on red in case they play Urborg again?
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure it actually matters very much. I suspect it actually matters so little that you shouldn't waste brain power thinking about it.
Yeah, I think red is better because we played 2 basic swamp, 1 mountain. So if they're like on Field of Ruin or something. Another thing that does matter, while I remember it, is that card is good.
The Slasher, yeah, it's kind of an issue this game, I think. So
well, if we find a Cauldron,
this one goes.
Probably just toss Hive too.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Untap land would
Oh,
be. Ugh.
that was not fantastic. So I can attack, push off the treasure, play Thoughtseize, play Bloodtithe. Or I can attack, push, play Fable.
That's the one I'm leaning towards.
Yeah. Question is, what am I going to do with these fucking Thoughtseize? I guess discard them to the Fable next turn, actually. That's... Okay. I think I'm just going to do that. I don't, like... I play kind of intuitively, if you've noticed.
I do as well.
But, like, I don't know. If you're not going to trust your intuition after playing, like, 9,000 hours of Magic, like, what are you here for, right?
What I was going to say about Slasher is if we had Cauldron but did not have Tree, we could just push and then Exile trigger on the stack.
Yeah.
Make clean one.
It's like Scavenging Ooze versus, like, whatever favorite, like, recurring creature you want. Like, I guess Strangleroot Geist or Young Wolf or whatever nonsense.
Just another one of those cases where Cauldron just incidentally comes up in a meaningful way.
Kitchen Finks, says Dom. What's a Kitchen Finks? I haven't seen one of those in, like, 5 years.
We have to go back.
Oh, that is a better thing to use my removal spell on. I won't deny that.
All right, that's what we were looking for.
Yeah, it's a turn late, but I think I'm just going to discard these Thoughtseizes. I don't think I ever want to spend...
Well, now that we drew Cauldron, I'd hold one.
Okay. Then am I only rummaging one?
I would toss the Bloodtithe as well.
Cool. Alright, so we got a raid from the Yellow Hat. Welcome, Hat Raiders. I am with RCDC winner Cory Black. Old friend of mine from internet forums, and obviously I'm glad that he had a good finish. So you can watch him talk me through playing this deck. I beat your little brother at the RC. Well, I don't know. I suppose that happened. Ooh, push is actually really good here too.
Yeah, push makes our life a lot easier.
So I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, right? So this is 2, 1, 2, 1. Huh. Funny how that works.
The other thing, the reason I want to keep one Thoughtseize is that they've been playing basically around mana tithe, quote unquote. It seems like they probably have push up. And with two creatures, if we Thoughtseize, they're forced to push one, and then whatever we Cauldron onto lives.
That is nice. And I guess I can, like, deal with the tree damage to them now if I want to. So Who's talking? It is Cory Lack, who won the RC and DC. I believe you were 16-2 after 18 rounds of Magic.
Yes. I started 4-2, so I
yeah. I mean,
I had to roll.
Sometimes that happens, you know? Like, it's not impossible, it's just unlikely. Which is, you know, is what it is.
Well, look at that.
I think I'm going to take Fatal Push and just end them. Is there any way I die somehow?
I mean, the thing is...
Wait, aren't they just dead?
We could... if we take push, we could put them to 1.
Oh, it's 1, not 0. I see.
I mean, is that worth doing? It's entirely possible.
So they'll be at 1. We'll have Cauldron. I could also just put them to 3 and chump this with a token. Is that worth it? Kind of
I'm thinking about lines of taking, because the thing with push is that, like, having the Cauldron gets them pretty good. Like, if they push one of the Shaman tokens, I'm not sure that's actually a huge problem, because we just can do it next turn.
Okay, so do you want to take Fable then? Or do you want to take...
I'm just trying to...
Yeah.
I'm trying to, like, math out the... Because let's say we take Fable, we go to combat, they probably push a Shaman, in which case we can Still attack with the other push Archfiend, but then we don't have Bitter Triumph. We can take a hit. I think taking push is fine.
Okay. Yeah. So the question is, do I want to attack with both or not? Alternatively, what I could do is just main phase Cauldron onto the Shaman. They can't Heartless Act it because you can only remove counters.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I think I have to remove this regardless. Like, I think that's not
Yeah,
negotiable. Alright. Cast. Target that. Sack this.
Yeah,
and then we'll also have active reflection, so like theoretically we could chomp like infinitely.
So if we Cauldron, Exile Tree onto the Shaman.
Seems pretty good to me, but
I mean, if we're doing this, we want to do it now because they have
yeah.
the Heartless Act.
Yep.
What would be a sick play if they do it? I don't know if they will, but they attack with the Slasher. We block with the Shaman and trade, and they remove a counter. So their Slasher lives. We still do it regardless.
I'm gonna do that because I just don't want to take the damage, and I think if this Cauldron just lives in play for a while, they'll like Omega die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to do it now.
Yeah. It's actually in a way better for us if they'd be at 2 instead of 3.
Yep. So
Fable.
my removal spell kills them? Or also if they have nothing, they're just dead on board?
Well, they have the Heartless Act, so they kill one of our... Well, that makes it easier.
I guess I'll just cast it.
Yeah.
I will just target literally any creature.
Literally anything, yeah.
It actually does not matter what I target because they will die no matter what.
I guess the theoretical best target is the summoning Sekiki Jiki.
Sure. I do not think it actually matters what I target.
Everyone, it matters sometimes.
Yeah, here I don't think it matters because it's like face up. They have one card we don't know about and one card we do. If we target the non-summoning sick or the summoning sick creature, we just send with both of those. All right, I guess I'll just attack them and see what they do. Like, who cares, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I have not actually had it come up to use Cauldron to fizzle Heartless Act as an illegal target.
Wow. We are 3-0 currently. Not well. The first match was very fake, I would say.
We're like 2.2 and 0.
2.2. I do not understand. What the fuck happened there? I still do not understand. It's just no one knows what happened there. Oh, also, who was your little brother, Scravagi? Apparently beat a 16-year-old kid playing Magic, but that sounds on par for me. I'm a bully. So I was talking to the ELO project people last night, and they're gonna put up the results today or tomorrow. I think they've been busy because they also one of them played the RC as well with Rakdos aggro, so you can see how much you skyrocketed, I guess, because like when you win that many matches, obviously it's going to be like an insane differential.
Me? I mean, yeah. I guess.
Well, I guess we can see where you were before.
I played some killers too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Then if you beat them, that gives you even more points.
It's one of those that like it doesn't matter a ton, so I've never really like it's not like it was like 10 years ago where there was like some sort of incentive.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you played Pro Tour Journey into Nyx? I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, it was the Mox. I finished like 75th or something. I know I got silver for it. We got the Doomwake battle.
It's a Doomwake. Last seen deck, Rakdos Tree. I assume you've played a bunch of these mirrors, but
I've played some of them.
Alright, well, I'm certainly not mulliganing.
Keep.
Keep.
I played one Tree Mirror.
Watery Grave. Ugly Thoughtseize. God, I hate this Thoughtseize.
Yeah,
The OG is, I don't know. You see the fairy going into the person's ear or whatever. It's nice.
for me, it's also the elegance of the Lorwyn set symbol.
Oh yeah, that symbol's nice. Lorwyn block in general is just super good.
Yeah.
Alright, they took my Fable. I think I'm just gonna Thoughtseize them off Black Leaf Cliffs, obviously.
Yeah.
Let's see what's up. The fuck is this? I guess this like rogues or something like that.
I mean, it's probably just Mockingbird.
Yeah. This does not seem like a real Magic card in this format.
I've seen people talking about that thing, and it's like,
I don't
you know,
understand.
all the power to you. As someone who wants to make Throne of the Grim Captain work in Standard, you know, you show me any Merfolk, I'll take a look. But
Wait, is that your current brainworm?
I had this was like a while ago. This was in like March, where it was like Jund with Thrillseeker, Trumpeting Carnosaur, Enterprising Scallywag, and I forget what the last type was.
So, do you want to play which 2-drop do you want to play this turn?
If something needs to eat a fatal push, it's probably just Bloodtithe Harvester.
Sure. So their likely play is EOT Drowner it, just to like get a creature in play. Then like they'll go from there, which is fine.
FOMO tossing Marvin gets us 2 Delirium.
That's nice. Holy shit, the beatdowns.
Feel like fear of missing out.
They played Gloomlake Verge instead of Clearwater Pathway. So we know about those two.
This is where we actually have like a decision to make, because we drew the tree. So like we know about the push, so we would play Marvin.
Yeah. So just play Marvin Say Go, probably, yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. Marvin eats the push, that's fine.
And then I guess I just blood away the tree no matter what, right?
Yeah, potentially. Gotta figure out what they're doing to some extent. It's possible you just want to Bloodtithe away the
Mutavault?
Yeah. Or Bloodtithe away the Drowner.
This is Kaito. Okay, this makes sense. Kind of unfortunate. We could not really do anything about it, but interesting. What do I want to do about that? Kind of hard to kill this thing on their turn.
I mean, we could just attack it, right? They played their land.
Yeah. I think if that's the case, I do want to blood away tree. And they zeroed. Oh, they have push. No, they use push. So we know about Flood Pit's Drowner and nothing else.
They've been to.
So it's like a Fairies Ninja deck, I see. Alright. I think I'm just gonna do this. I think like we kind of just need to find
Extra draw to a Cauldron is not nothing. I mean, it just animate Muta, kill Kaido, play FOMO.
Yep. The very not often see Mutavault Mirror in Pioneer, even though Mutavault is kind of a messed up Magic card. Oh, yeah, another push? Like, oh god, that's kind of a disaster, but whatever. Alright, well, I think this is right. Don't think we really have many options. Okay.
There we go.
Well, if they somehow tap all of their lands, which is not very likely because they Flood Pit's a Drowner, we can kill them next turn, right?
Yeah, that Kaido is not. I played against that Kaido at like the Duskmourn pre-release,
Yeah.
and was just like, it didn't do anything.
I think it's doing more here. They already
Fair,
had...
admittedly.
Yeah, I will just take 7. I don't think, like, blocking does anything. Actual Ornithopter.
Oh yes.
Uh... This is kind of awkward.
So we have Delirium.
Yeah, but they have the Drowner, so they can just tap it first combat. But I guess I can just... Is there a way around this, I guess, is what I'm asking? Because it kind of looks like I'm dead.
Yeah.
I guess I'll play Cauldron and go to combat and see what they do, right?
Yeah, we could Cauldron into Thrill Seeker, or Theater into Thrill Seeker, but that's still not great.
I guess I'll just play this first, no matter what, and see if it works out.
Yeah.
It probably won't. Okay, well. I'm just kind of hoping they mess up somehow. Like, theoretically, it's possible.
Yeah. Hitting that second push was...
Okay, now I believe this kills me deterministically because...
Yeah, it's animate
it's...
you to vault.
Yeah, alright. Cool. I just didn't really... Well...
Yeah, I don't know what to do about that one. I mean, the duress has probably come out, and Bitter Triumph seems okay.
Does not seem good. Damn, I wish this was some other removal spell right now, but whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, that one was definitely a targeted metagame
Yeah, well,
decision.
even our Phoenix players were like, yeah, we're just going to decide we're 2 Chandras to defeat. So it was pretty clear which way the wind was blowing for that tournament, I think. I think just submit now, right? Like, I don't want any of these other
Yeah,
things.
I think so. Like, maybe if we see more of the deck, we'll want Hazoret, but...
It's kind of a hard sell to do that versus the Foot Drowner deck, right?
That too.
It's kind of weird because I think who's the beatdown actually shifts in this matchup. It's not so clear cut.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I guess it's like classic creature on creature decks, like whoever's the thing.
Whoever's on the play in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Damn, I forgot you lost to Lars. Damn, that one year at the Mox.
Yeah.
You lost to him twice. Wow. He had
Yeah,
your
he got my
number.
ass.
You were 50-50 versus Bing. You were 100% versus Budakov. And then a lot of these people I don't recognize. Weird. Alright. Guess I would like to play first. I mean, I'm not mulliganing. Yeah. I do wish I had 1 mana removal because I think that's like at a premium in this matchup, but... do I want it enough to keep it here?
No, I would toss it.
Yeah.
We want to land.
Yeah. I think on the draw, the 1 mana removal was even more important, but on the play, like, you can maybe, like, ignore it and just hope you curve out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. I guess I just play my Mimic. Like, what else am I
Get
gonna
in
do?
there, Marvin.
Or, yeah, whatever. Well, it is a Mimic, yeah. He's going to die 100% of the time here. Cut down. So it must be extra 1 mana removal past Fatal Push, obviously.
Sure.
I think I'm still just going to play Fable.
Oh, yeah.
This might just be a game where we don't try to, like, Soul Cauldron. Or we, like, EOT Soul Cauldron, untap Soul Cauldron again, and...
Yep. That's the way to do it.
Although, like, it's kind of hard because you also need a blood token around to, like, discard the thing you want. But we'll see what happens.
You can target your tree, untap,
Oh,
like
man.
play a FOMO or something.
1 mana thingy. Alright.
All right, buy trees.
Yeah. There's no reason to keep them. It's like, whatever. Like, do I bluff attack?
I mean, I would. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I think he has to respect it. I guess even if he doesn't, we can, like, throw Seeker to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of unpleasant, but...
Second Fable.
Yep. And I'll just play a tapped Blood Crypt, I think.
Yeah. We're getting close to just Thrill Seeker locking with the Fables.
Yeah, I wouldn't, like... It's kind of funny. I think that's, like, more doable versus decks that don't play a lot of removal, but I guess we've run him out a bunch of interaction already. Do you block? Probably. Oh, I can't.
But
Right. Okay, if there's...
Mockingbird's good.
Yeah, that card fucks. Yeah. What does that mean? Other question is, what do I do with this Fable? Is it crazy to discard FOMO this game?
I mean, we're gonna get our hand pretty close to empty. I kind of like just tossing nothing.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It seemed kind of crazy, but I think I might... Yeah, I'm just going to do that.
Because we can play Thrill Seeker.
Yep.
Counters on the Shaman.
Yep. See if he lets me attack. If he does, that's fine. Jesus. Alright, well, I guess... Do I even want to play FOMO this turn?
I would pass.
Yeah. Why can you not hover the cards to read them? Because there's no API that lets you do that in this client.
I guess it's just like the plan was shock. Sure.
So that'll tap down the reflection. Do I want to push this before he untaps? So he can't, like, shuffle this in?
How much is it to put it in? 2?
2.
You have another.
But I feel like if I get both of these online, like, the game's definitely locked. Whereas if, like, this gets stunned for a turn, like, theoretically things could go south, right?
Yeah, we have the second one. I think pushing it's fine.
Oh. And I have to do it now, otherwise, like, obviously if like they can just activate it because it has vigilance, you know?
Mm-hmm. More so incentivized as well to just get the push out of our hand when we have FOMO.
Exactly. I was going to cast push no matter what. It was just a question of what I was going to target, and now it feels like the Drowner is probably the best thing to target. Well, Hearse is annoying this game, but it's not the end of the world. I'm actually more afraid if he just starts chonking us for 6 with that Hearse. But
yeah, I agree.
I think, like, theoretically, if he draws nothing, what I would do is just cast Borrower, crew the Hearse, and attack for 8. But we'll see what he ends up doing.
Yeah, that seems correct.
I think people just love sitting around with this Hearse for way too long. Like, they never actually attack, like, I don't know. I always just want to get my 6 damage in. 6 is so much.
Yeah, we're past the point in the game where, like, we're getting shut down by Hearse. Not that it ever really did shut us down, but...
No, that's also the nice thing about the, like, Cauldron tree stuff is, like, there are plenty of games where you don't need that to win, and you can just like loot it all away if it's bad, and like we've done this game.
Yeah, and even just play out Cauldron. It's like, all right, you tap, you can no longer tap your hearse.
So that copies hearse, I guess.
Thrill Seeker probably
Oh, wait.
doesn't kill us though.
That's very annoying. Shit. Oh no, I was supposed to shoot him. Ah, fuck. Yeah. I don't think I'm gonna lose by 1 point, but obviously I was supposed to dome him for 1.
Yeah. The question is, does he remember to fling it?
I think so. That the reason I do this is so it lines up. All right, now I need to draw something. That's not anything. So I play my land, play Fear, right?
Yep. Hope to draw something decent.
Yeah. Guess I should have tapped one of the mutavaults. I appear to be dead. Yeah.
Yep.
That sucks.
Those are some rough beats. I think
I think the matchup should be fine, but it's like certainly like I think losing the die roll was minus 10% win rate or whatever.
I think he also drew pushed the first game and drew that Mockingbird second game.
Yeah.
And it basically came down to that. I don't know. That deck didn't seem like super impressive to me, but it did get our ass there pretty good at the end.
Yeah, I mean sometimes that happens, but good beats. Obviously, you can lose to other black decks.
You can lose to anything. It's modern Magic the Gathering.
No, it's Pioneer Magic the Gathering. Yeah. All right. So, this is the last match of the league. I'm probably gonna head out after this. I actually have an eye doctor appointment later. So.
Okay.
But always appreciate you. Always appreciate your ideas. This one was more successful than most, I would say.
I say they're all successful in their own way, but in terms of translating it to a tangible result, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna keep. Obviously, like.
Yep.
Oh, it's a mirror.
Here, let's go.
The theater gives all the information away. There goes the hive. Probably just duress them.
Oh yeah.
In case if they have Soul Cauldron. If they have multiples, obviously it sucks, but
Soul Cauldron or Fable.
I can take the Fable with the turn after, so I should take the Soul Cauldron now.
Yeah.
Arena's fine. I'm a boomer. I want to play it mid-go. Like,
I would just duress the Fable. It's sort of like the...
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Torch is going to get that Thrill Seeker real good.
Sure is. Unless if our opponent draws something better, like if they draw... no, I think they're going to play their thing. Nice.
Yeah.
It's even in the worst zone possible for them, which is the Exile zone. Interesting. Now I have options.
You do. They have Tree, Push, and a card we don't know.
Yep. If I were playing by myself, I would probably play Bloodtithe, play a tapped land, say go, but...
I think there's a good chance that's right, because there's a very good chance they just untap and play the tree.
Yep. And then I can use the blood plus push to kill it if I really want to. Or I might just ignore it. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure it, like, does very much. They can, like, deal me 7 damage with it, I guess, but...
I think it's more a matter of, like, Gigantha. Alright, Fable's good. Now do they push it?
Now what?
I kind of like Shock, Thrill Seeker, pass.
Okay, I can see that. Because they can't really attack into this, so like, yeah, of course they get to rummage like their shit tree away, but assume I'm not blooding either of these away.
Yeah, there's no need at this point, I don't think. The thing
Oh,
too is if they toss their tree and don't hit a cauldron, they now just die.
yep.
This mirror is like really weird and tricky. Ooh. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would push it.
There's like basically no reason not to push it here, I think.
Well, the psycho play is crack the blood token, tossing push, and try to hit something else, but alright, FOMO's good.
Alright. Soul Cauldron off the top.
Okay.
I think so they could have torch, I guess, but I'm not gonna play around it. I think like
Yeah,
oh my god, I can't believe that fucking happened.
I mean, if we didn't draw Cauldron, we could just
Yeah, no,
like
of
if we
course.
drew land, we just Bloodtithe, we can sack to kill. Alright, you know the secret, right?
Yeah, this card is horrible.
Yes, get that out of there.
It seems so obvious to me.
Yeah. You cut the trees, you cut the Marvins.
You can bargain torch off Fable, Chickatuck.
You
It
can also
works.
bargain off you can also bargain off FOMO.
Yeah, it. They could very easily kill our thing. Bargain says enchantment artifact reward token on it. I want feed this one, right? Yeah. I think I just want all my kill spells.
I would cut I would bring in Hazarets.
Nice. Okay.
I would bring in Hazarets and cut 2 Marvins and 1 Cauldron.
Oh, because no one has trees post board, so it actually matters less. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do I want the
Like,
extra bitter triumph or no?
Yeah, not really.
Okay.
Maybe there's an argument for Chandra's defeat.
There is. Maybe I should cut bitter triumph for Chandra's defeat, actually.
Yeah, I also think, yeah, we do want the Fable the Mirror Breaker is just what this matchup comes down to. Post board.
Wait, so you're saying Fable dictates every Rakdos mirror you've ever seen in your life?
Just maybe a little bit.
That's so fucking weird.
Crazy, I know.
Second path says not a fan of cutting cauldron. Not all tree players are hinge. Definitely had people keep them in the mirror.
I mean, I think you want 3 just because like getting Thrill Seeker under it is still huge.
Well,
but
I think Jeff's point is if you believe your opponent's unhinged and leaves all their trees, then you should have all 4 cauldrons.
I don't think they're that unhinged.
Okay.
And even if they are, like, I think 3 is fine.
Yeah.
If there are configurations that start boarding in like Holagon's Command in a Braid.
Well, I'm
Sneak.
yeah. Damn, I really should have played this deck. Every hand I've drawn today has been so nice. It's a nice, well-oiled machine, right?
Yeah, it's one of those, like, people look at Tree of Perdition, it's like, oh, it's a dead card. And it's like,
But Splinter Twin was also a dead card. Who the fuck cares? That's not how Magic works. I think I'm just gonna play my Scryland now. Yeah. I mean, like, I guess maybe you could make a case I'm supposed to leave Fatal Push up.
I would toss that.
Yeah.
I would also not leave Fatal Push up. I think just like, you know, the luxury of our raucous theater is just quite nice.
Well, also, like, it just might be inconvenient if I just draw no other lands and draw a 3-drop on turn 3 and I haven't played my theater out is just so debilitating. Getting a second awesome 2-drop was huge for this deck. Yeah, I think I kind of regret not playing it, obviously. I think I'm just going to play Bloodtithe out.
I think so also.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I'm proudest of the deck. It wasn't like, obviously I'm like proud of myself for winning, but that the deck put up like the second best win rate, like other people picked it up and also did well with it,
Mm-hmm.
was like more prideful as like a deck builder.
Yep. That doesn't seem terribly threatening.
I have tested it in the mirror. I think it's okay.
Okay.
Well, just make Bloodtithe a 5/4 and swing at one of them, maybe.
And if they double block, I can just assign all 5 damage to one double.
Yep.
That's like one of the things that's actually hard to do in Arena if you don't know where to click. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny because if you default, obviously your thing will get killed. But if you know the secret, which is don't assign so much to that, then it's easy. I'm gonna attack the token one because of Fountain Port.
And Delirium.
Yep.
To the extent it matters. Also, actually, it's possible we kill both because if we just kill one, they just kill Thrill Seeker anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just gonna kill the Thrill Seeker, but
that's fine. I suppose that does make sense, actually, now that you've said it that way. That I probably should just kill both because Thrill Seeker will die most of the time here. I will lose 2 life. I will lose 2 life. Do you think this plan is good, like in general, or is it just?
I don't know. I think on the play there's a good chance it's good. Like if both players are going to be just like on discard and removal
Mm-hmm.
and trip each other's hands, just having 2 obs is like pretty hard to get by.
That's fair. Oh shit! All my shit's dead. This is kind of problematic.
I mean, FOMO toss Cliffs.
Yep. It's really not a very efficient land to draw here. Okay, well, I guess I play FOMO and discard my Fatal Push because it doesn't do very much.
I would almost rather save the push.
Just say go and push well, maybe push OT and like try to be hellbent and play the FOMO.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Well, so one issue I have with doing that is how do we contest these like just ticking up?
We get the second Delirium, which is nice.
That's kind of why I want to play both out because then I can just like attack both of them twice next turn, right?
Yeah.
I think I am going to play it for that reason. I don't think it's insane to do that.
I think it's fine.
Yeah. I think like realistically I could die to this if I just don't like try to kill them in a turn or two. They're also stuck on lands, so what can be in their hand?
Second ob.
That makes sense. It was a second knob. Huh.
That's really weird then.
Can I just discard this? Like, I think
I would.
Oh, I have a blood token though.
We have a blood token. We have.
Yeah. I'll just lose 2 then. Obviously, it is kind of scary to do this, but
Yeah. It's interesting they had the second ob and didn't just minus to make another devil and then casualty the devil token.
Maybe they don't know the play.
Maybe. It's also just that wouldn't block the double FOMOs quite as well. Ooh.
So I'm going to play Swamp, play FOMO, and see what I draw.
Yeah.
Damn, what a sick card. Huh. What does that do?
Oh, that makes we have a Thrill Seeker in the yard. That makes life way easier.
I'm just going to cast it first.
Yeah.
So how do I attack now?
I mean, I think
1 at each of those.
1 at each the obs, untap the other.
Yeah. Well, if they have a removal spell, that's fine. Like, I can't really do anything about it.
We now technically get 2 extra combat steps. Hmm.
So, is there a way to play around a removal spell here that's effective? I don't see a way, right?
Not a great way. I mean, just the highest upside is if we put their FOMO first,
And then,
Cauldron Thrill Seeker onto the one that's being blocked.
yeah. Wait, put a counter on my untapped FOMO? Oh, maybe that is
No,
better. Well, no, it's kind of the same, right? Because they will just
I
remove
was
that.
thinking the one that's being blocked. The
Yeah,
one that's being blocked, if they push that, then we're at least hitting Ob with the other.
yeah,
Like, I don't think we want to put the counter on the one that's getting through.
yeah. They're already down one Fatal Push. Like, it's not a lock that'll have it.
And they could torch, or they didn't. All right.
Okay, this is just great for me then, I think.
Yeah, so now, so something if we had a little extra mana, we could consider animating the Meter Vault, but I don't think it's worth doing.
Oh, if I had, like, two untapped plans? Like,
Yeah, because you can
yeah.
animate Meter Vault and untap it with the FOMOs and get more attacks in, but
Wait, does that not work? Untap. Wait, it does
we we
work, right?
can we can, but then we wouldn't have the mana to use the Thrill Seeker
Well,
activation,
I
which
can
is
I can just leave the mutable untapped, right? Oh no, it says target attacking creature. No, I think
it float.
it does work, right?
It gets 2 damage in, but then they can put the Devil token on. They can block Meter Vault with the Devil and just kill it.
Okay. So maybe what I want to do is just attack this here, attack that here. They'll block
Yeah,
this, then I shoot that.
yeah,
All right.
that gets rid of both obs.
Wow, that Soul Cauldron draw was very good, and they had no 1 minute interaction here, so this is very good for us. Oh, shit's dead.
But good case for Ob. I've gone back and forth on it being good, but it took a lot for us to get through those.
It is hard to figure out if it's gonna. I think there's just gonna be some games where like it's relatively even and it's gonna blow the game open, and then there's gonna be
Mhm.
a game like this where they couldn't really leverage it enough, and yeah, they just got stuck on lands, I guess. All right,
Okay.
well we beat the shit out of our opponent because they got mana screwed, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, if our opponent didn't have a 1 mana interactive spell there, I think they were gonna be just in a huge hole with that entire game. Like,
And
was
yeah, Cauldron on Thrill Seeker is just like you're pretty locked out. To say nothing of the 3 FOMOs just being outright like you're dead next turn.
yeah. Is FOMO plus original Kiki Jiki infinite? Yes. You just untap Kiki Jiki every time and just activate it. So I guess is that your plan for modern FOMO Kiki Jiki?
Um,
Probably not.
so
Kiki
I
Jiki is
mean,
just bad. Like,
if if people want the like actual, I don't have a full list yet, but in terms of things that are good, modern you get Lightning Bolt, which is
yeah.
just enough of an efficient spell to throw at their face after treeing them. You get Orcish Bowmasters, which gives you a creature with a counter already,
Yep.
and also does damage.
Hmm.
Seasoned Pyromancer seems insane.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Uh,
like FOMO is just Spyro, but costs a little bit less and does a little bit less. But it's obviously like Spyro is a good magic card. The only thing that's bad about it is that it violates Gigantha in general, but maybe you don't care.
uh, but I think if I think putting a tree under Cauldron in Modern, like you put it well earlier, that is Modern power level, and just
Yeah.
figuring out the rest of the shell around it is what'll be like the consideration. It's possible like a Jund thing with Malevolent Rumble can
Ooh,
be
the
like
yeah, the rumble's nice with Soul Cauldron in general. Like that is something I'm interested in. Although For me personally, it's RCQ season. They let me play with Bant Nadu, so I played it twice and qualified twice, and then I didn't play anymore. So
Oh yeah,
I mean, like,
I,
obviously Nadu is just a ridiculous stack. Like, you know.
yeah. I have not played any modern RCQs,
Oh, and you
and
won't. Do you even have to now? I don't think you do. Like, I think
well,
you're
it's
able to.
very funny because I'm invited to one of the RCs. So if I want to qualify for the other, I do need to
Oh, I see.
put an RCQ. But probably, they're like the Moto Super qualifiers.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
got I top-aided one, so the leaderboard points matter a bit. So I'll probably try and do that.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear for you. If you ever have legacy or vintage questions, just hit me up. I guess I would point you to a deck that I think you might like playing and would be good. How
I
did
have
the
had some ideas, but it's mostly just like little things. I was thinking about Into the Floodmaw in Vintage Oath of Druids.
that one's already popped up? Yeah, which is not very
All right, cool.
surprising. Um, Vintage Oath is quite good. Like, just because Atraxa made the deck. What's the best way of putting it? Well, I guess you understand that Atraxa is nonsense magic card,
Yeah,
and yeah.
it is better than Bristlebrand in every way that matters.
Well, there's one exception to that, but it's very like I guess the best way of putting it is sometimes versus literally Caracas and Legacy that
Hmm.
Atraxa is actually not that good. Um, Brand obviously not that good in that spot, but like maybe you can draw 14 cards versus like Death and Taxes and just like shove a bunch of Archons down their throat or whatever by that point. But yeah, Atraxa is just nonsense, of course. Not modern, but you'll add FOMO to your cube. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised it wasn't in your cube before. If FOMO seems like a great card in cubes, just in
Yeah,
general. Like,
it's a really cool card.
it's a cheap card. It's not going to break a game by itself. If you build your deck correctly, it'll be super good. But it's a nice card. Atraxa preserves Gigantha. It sure does. That is,
Yeah, also.
it was very weird. I guess you played kind of interesting games versus that Transmorg guy. Like two of the games, you two like just kind of were ships passing the night, and the third game was just like actual nutrition game, which is
Mhm.
kind of all of the realms of the spectrum of the Rakdos mirror, I guess, is the best way of putting it.
Yeah, basically, there's a lot of pick your Thoughtseize Fable deck and your win condition of choice. I do think
Yeah.
Tree and Cauldron is sort of like it requires you to sacrifice like not quite as much in your deck building and
Mm-hmm.
is probably the most efficient.
Mm-hmm. I guess one question I had for you is how often do you actually end up activating Fountain Port in the matches you played?
I did it a few times.
Mm,
Original incarnations of the deck had Mirex, which was
sure.
fine. Um, but being able to like sack tokens, like converting your blood tokens into actual cards in
Yep.
matches where that matters is quite nice. Your treasure tokens.
Mm-hmm.
It was just one of those that like I think you have room for three colorless lands, and I wanted the one port two Mutavault over three Mutavault. I think three Mutavault's also like perfectly defensible.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, it's kind of weird that I have to say this, but Mutavault is actually a good magic card, like in decks like this.
Yeah,
But of course, it doesn't cast any of your 1 mana spells, and it doesn't cast Bloodtithe. But like, your deck has a lot of mana sinks, and the damage definitely matters in this deck. You know.
there were like three spots throughout the league where just having one of our lands also be a creature like guaranteed us a lock. Like we win this game. They cannot get out of
Mm-hmm.
like Cauldron combo.
Admiral Akbra says in chat, Fountains Port's best source of tokens is opponents get lost. That is definitely true nowadays.
I love getting get lost, and it's one of those like short of just winning the game when your opponent's like, all right, I'm going to give you pay 2 mana, you draw a card and put a counter on a creature of your choice and surveil one. It's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of bad, but I think it's a necessary evil for the Azorius control deck, unfortunately.
Yep, but
Um,
I will delight getting necessary eviled for as long as get lost as the card de jour for that role.
yeah, it's just Oblation with extra. Oh my god, that is a deep cut. I think how many Zoomers know what Oblation is?
God,
Uh,
I barely remember. It's
It
like a rare from Urza Saga, right?
no, it's
Something
a
like
rare
that.
for an onslaught, but they played it in the block pro tour to kill opposing Akromas. It's just like
Mm.
shuffle target creature in that its controller draws 2 cards. No, I'm pretty sure it shuffles the creature in. All right, let's see if I'm right. This is the original one. What a horrible rare.
3 mana.
Yeah, it's not good, but the legend rule was bad back then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this card is just not good, but it was Huey versus Osip in an Astral Slide Mirror, and they both had Oblation in their deck post board to kill Akromas. Which is
Ooh,
like not good, but
I had a so here's a rules question because that card got me thinking about unwanted remake.
yeah.
The
Yeah,
destroy
yeah.
target creature.
Hmm.
Is Manifest Dread? Does that count as searching your library?
No. It's like you're casting a sleight of hand essentially.
Okay, I was thinking like Lean and Arbiter unwanted remake.
Yeah, unfortunately that doesn't work. Like it's they just basically sleight of hand one into play and one into the graveyard.
All right, I guess Lean and Arbiter still not good enough. Despite what
Yeah, not surprising. Also, I don't really think people enjoy playing Magic when Leonin Arbiter is good because I don't think it's just a misery machine. Actually, you don't want that card to
yeah,
be good.
yeah.
Well, even IRL, it's just like not fun. It's like you have 2 Leonin Arbiters out and I've drawn a fetch land. It certainly is Magic how Richard Garfield intended. Ooh, good question. Does Grafdigger's Cage work Manifest Dredge? I have to read the card. I expect the answer is yes, because it's not a creature card entering the battlefield, right? Oh, it's no? It doesn't work? Oh, I don't fucking know. Who knows how anything works ever?
This important questions for the 1-3 at FNM bracket.
Wait, so just crypt? Wait. Oh yeah, the Lean and Arbiter Resto Angel thing is also nonsense.
Oh yeah, you have to repay for it.
Yeah. But a lot of people obviously don't know that because they're like, well, I just paid for it. It's like, well, the rules are weird.
You actually paid for an earlier instance of Lean and Arbiter.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, if anyone has any last minute questions for Cory, let us know in the chat. We'll have a few more minutes, but I want to say thanks again to Cory. Obviously, congrats to him. He's basically in the best possible position for the next organized play year because you literally can't be in a better position, I think.
Feels good.
Yeah, it feels good. I do not have the luxury of ever. I've never actually gotten to play a Worlds, like the big one or the small one. So, I'm sure by the time next year rolls around for you, you'll be super excited for that. In the meantime, you'll have Pro Tour 1 to play in, which no one knows where it is yet. And then maybe you can chain enough stuff to play a bunch of them, and it'll be pretty fun, I think.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. Yep. And where can people find you if they want to see the updated tree guide, which I suppose is you're working on it?
Yep. At Jupiter Brando on Twitter. Also basically everywhere, but Twitter is where you're most likely to find me.
Mm-hmm.
Might start streaming a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like a good time to get that going. But yeah, certainly just following on Twitter is where you're most likely to, I'll make announcements about the tree guide, probably just post like here's what a modern Rakdos version could look like type of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And just general thoughts on Magic.
Yep. And one more thing about that is, I know, but a lot of people don't know. You were a big Amulet Bloom guy way back when, which is probably
That is true.
um. It's funny. I think people can find your lists if they look under Goldfish at CJ Lack 92.
Yep.
Right? What
Bunch of
hap-
like old amulet lists.
What happened to that account? Why did you switch?
I think I just asked Wizards to shut it down in like 2015 or something because I was like, I don't want to like get distracted by Magic right now.
I see. Interesting.
because I asked them about it at one point, and then like the pandemic started. I was like, I am bored.
Apparently you cannot manifest all with Cajun play. Interesting. That's good to know for future us. You apparently also have a baseball podcast called WSZ.
White Strike Zone. Yeah, it's sort of an avant-garde baseball podcast, which sounds insane because it kind of is.
What does
But we're
avant-garde mean in this context? Because it's hard for me to grasp it.
the conceit is that it's sort of a baseball podcast, but we do sort of like unearthed journalism, which are really just comedy sketches
I see.
and different like themes
Mm-hmm.
um, about like whatever team or subject matter is being discussed. With
Fascinating.
meant to be re-listened to, which is not true of most sports podcasts.
Mm-hmm. It's funny for me because I hadn't watched baseball in so many years. Then a friend of mine visited last year. He's like, "Oh, let me show you what baseball's like now," and I'm like, "Why is there a pitcher's clock now?" I mean, obviously I appreciate it because the games go faster, but that's just it's so different to me than like when I watched baseball games as a kid. You know,
It
very
it
very
rules.
fascinating.
Like the
Yeah.
amount the game has improved in the past like 10 years is insane. Like if you're someone who was into it as a kid and then fell off, just like tune into some of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels both like it feels like how the sport should feel
Mm-hmm.
and it hadn't felt for decades.
I think in general people have realized that it's boring to have downtime during sports, so to try to minimize it. That this is true
Mhm.
for all sports. Because I'll tell a quick story about Olympic fencing. Basically, you can get yellow carded if no points are scored for a long enough time. Both players just receive a yellow card. So it basically forces the action at some point.
Yeah, slow play warning.
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, it is very similar to a slow play warning. If you get enough of those, the person who wins is the person who has the higher seed. So eventually, at some point, one person is forced into action.
Mhm.
So it's very funny to think about. You know, so yeah, maybe people will check your stuff out, and I will certainly you know repost whatever 12,500 words. This deck will make you better at Magic. A Guide to Tree Perdition 2.0, right?
Yep.
2.0.
Probably be longer than 12.5, but
Well,
I would
presumably you would edit that one, or I don't know, update it, or
yeah, take and edit the relevant things and
yeah.
add a whole bunch of new stuff. Probably frankly probably planning to charge for this one,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing exorbitant for the amount of like time and effort I'm putting into it, and it's about the writing too. It's not just like I'm going to give
Mm-hmm.
you like a flow chart. It's
Yep.
hopefully like an interesting and fun read.
So there's a bunch of regional championships still coming up, so that might be more interesting for those people, obviously, because
Absolutely. Yeah.
um, it technically there's one starting tonight because it's Japan time. Uh,
Mhm.
let's see. So we were like one of the first ones. There's one in like November for Europe. I don't know. I think the Brazil one already happened. So there's a few more to go. So yeah, I
Mhm.
think the guide will be valuable, especially to the Europe people if they want to play it.
Yeah, and I'm also certainly going to put in parts about like how to beat the deck, so it's not
Mm-hmm.
just like I am selling the secrets of how to play this deck. It's like, no, I want to analyze its like broader
Yeah.
context and where the game is at and what it means for
Mm-hmm.
like Pioneer as a format that it's as good as it is.
Yep. So cool stuff. You all check that out. Again, thank you, Cory. If you want to hang out ever again playing different decks, you're usually welcome, depending on my time and your time. Canada's still a month away, apparently. So good to know.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I guess last minute before we say bye to the chat. Anything?
hmm
Anything you want to say?
Uh, Not a ton. Just thanks, Jarvis. This was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Cool.
I
Uh,
am not like the most aggressive self promoter,
you
so have
should.
it.
You should
And
try to promote a little bit more aggressively. I think, but
yeah,
it
but it's
is what
also
it.
kind of fun to just sort of like be in the background and having had an impact
Mm-hmm.
on some things. And like you mentioned the amulet thing, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. There was that Mardu, the Surgeon General's deck.
I brought that up to people in the Pillar of Flame blog, and they're like, "Why the fuck was this a thing?" I'm like, I don't know. It's just, it's my brain remembers so much random shit. It's so. I wish I could delete some of it to make space, I guess, but my brain won't let me do it. All right. Anyways, who should we raid on the way out? Dealer's choice.